Sometimes you just gotta shut the FUD up.
Hey man, just want to let you know that sometimes you gotta shut the fuck up. And this current time is just one of those times you gotta shut the fuck up.
I don't think you're a bad person, I just don't want to hear you talking anymore. You gotta shut up.
All right, everybody, it is debate prep day where we're going to get ready to prepare ourselves for the debate. See, are we live? I don't think we're live. It says here that we're live. All right. So, oh yes, we are live. Gotcha. Okay, so yes, today is debate prep day, and that's going to be this episode here of Shut the FUD Up, where I'm going to get prepared for the debate for you guys right here live on stream. We're going to take a look at my opponent's previous debate and see like how he argues and what are some things that he does right, what are some things that he does wrong. See where we can find like some points of attack, I guess you could say. Or as asks like, what's the debate going to be about? I'll tell you, here's what it is here. Is like, originally it was supposed to be the bull market is all over versus me saying, no, the bull market hasn't even begun yet. That was what it was originally going to be. But my opponent turned out not to be as bearish as we thought he would be. So we changed the nature of the debate here a little bit. He thinks now that what he's going to argue is that this bull run could end soon, like in the next 6 months, maybe the next 12 months, he says, is like the longest he sees extending out is the next 12 months. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my position a little more extreme than I actually believe it to be, just for the sake of the debate. And I'm going to say that, hey, I don't think the bull run starts for at least another 12 months. Now, what I really believe is that I think that the bull run goes on a lot longer than the next 12 months. But I can also substantiate the claim that maybe it doesn't start for a whole nother year. And I know that that's probably a very unpopular position, a very unpopular view. It's not something that y'all want to hear. But there is a lot to support that. And I'm going to go over a little bit of that here today. We're going to be working on an opening statement in front of y'all. And we'll try to get like that finalized for the debate tomorrow. But really what the debate is about is how long can the bull run go on for? He says it's got to end soon. I say it's going to be going on for a lot longer just because it's going to take a long time for that money printer to get turned back on. And that's the main thing I'm going to be arguing here is that the money printer is going to take a long time to get turned back on. A lot longer. So, let's see. We got a few things here to check out for that. A few things to cover. Let's start with like our usual coverage here. What is like the things that I usually talk about? What goes on first here? Well, first we take a little snapshot of what the market is doing today. We see a lot of green. We like that. Pretty good day for a lot of things so far, but the real standout to me right here is Hyperliquid. Remember when I told you all about that a few streams ago? Yeah. I wasn't wrong. I was not wrong. And Athena, that has been doing very well ever since I streamed about it over a week ago. I was not wrong. And then the other one was EtherFi. And where is that one? Oh, it's right here. Also up 15%. And the reason why these guys are up so high is that they're set to benefit from stablecoins repatriating all of the euro dollars. Now, what about the coins that we care about the most? Well, even those guys are having a really good day today. Let's take a look here at those. Let me just share like the whole window. All right, so over here on GoPulse, Hex did pop above a penny today. And then it kind of went down a little bit right here. But still, we're having a really good day here with this. Now, some people are attributing this here all to the mass marketing devices. Guys, come on. You know better than that. I mean, the rest of the market is up a little bit. So, of course, we're going to be up a little bit. When I see positive price action that is like disproportionately better than the rest of the market, well, then maybe I'll start to say, okay, yeah, it looks like the marketing devices actually did their stuff. When I see people say, oh, yeah, I heard about this hex thing from this tablet thing that I saw, then I'll concede that, hey, maybe the marketing actually worked. Right now, here's what I'm saying. Like, as much as I talk trash about it and I think it's stupid, but I want to give it a chance. I'm going to give it a chance here to say, well, it's possible that maybe these devices, these little drawing tablets are going to do something for it. I mean, the fact that people aren't going to throw them away just because, like, there's some value to them. It's not like getting a postcard or something. So people aren't going to throw them away like they would get a postcard or if a flyer. They are going to keep them around. There is potential for it to help with, like, name recognition and everything. But you guys know what my view is on marketing here is that crypto needs no marketing. It needs green candles. What's causing all the green today as well here, though, is that the dollar index is down to 97.45. Still has a long way to go. This has got to be in the low 90s for us to have a bull run. That's going to take a while. That's going to be part of, like, what I'm going to argue in the debate tomorrow is that this dollar index is going to take a while to start going down. But when it does, that's when we got a really good bull run going on. I know there's one complete chicken that once told me this doesn't matter, but was way too chicken to argue with me about it or get on a live stream to talk to me about it. But hey, I'll be sure to make mention of that tomorrow during the debate. But here's the real amazing thing. Look at this, guys. I have not stopped talking about the 10-year Treasury ever since I started streaming, or really ever since Max put me on the map back at the very first Pulse Chain conference that he hosted. Look at this. It is almost below 4%. That is also why crypto is up today, is because that 10-year Treasury is coming down. And the interesting thing about it here is that still this 10-year Treasury, I think, is going to still be lower than the federal funds rate, even with the rate cut coming up. So far this year, the 10-year Treasury has dropped a total of, 50 basis points at least 50 basis points, pretty close to like 60 basis points, because this was up at 4.6 earlier in the year. Now it's almost down to 4%, very close here. So this has a long, this is doing very good here. We would like to see this. What else we want to see, though, is we want to see the federal funds rate come down below the 10-year Treasury so that the world is back to normal. Let's talk a little bit about the 10-year Treasury today and like what's going into this, what's causing it to do this and everything. But let's talk about this here. This is the probabilities of a rate cut coming up next week, about 10 days away. And they are factoring in the possibility of a 50 basis point cut. Now, we got to bear in mind here, as it stands right now, there's just an 11% chance that happens. This could go up, though. We got a big jobs revision report coming out tomorrow. If 1 million jobs are being revised down, like I think it could be, this is going to go up. And there is a real chance we get a 50 basis point cut next week. And then there's a real chance that this bull market really gets going within the next 3-4 months. It's a real possibility here if this gets higher. We've got a 50 basis point cut. I think that, like, if you were to ask me to make a prediction right now, I'd be as, like, realistic with you guys as I possibly can to say, hey, the deal with why they wouldn't do that right now is because that would send a panicky message to the markets, and Jay Powell doesn't want to be sending panicky messages to the markets. That would probably have a negative effect on the stock market. In the long run, it would be good for us, but we probably would go down a little bit at first. Probably would have a down day at first if they did cut by that much. So I don't think it happens with what I see right now, but this could change. Absolutely could change. Like, you got a really nasty jobs report tomorrow. You see this thing go up, and it'd be really interesting if, like, it goes into the meeting next week and it's all 50-50 between 25 beeps and 50 beeps. All right. Little housekeeping here. Did you know that you can get this book for free? It's called Your Parents Were Wrong, Debunking and Replacing Outdated Advice. This was a book I wrote a couple years ago. You can have it absolutely for free. All you got to do is head on over to my Substack. That's this one right here, Reinvent Ideal with Cairo. And then come right here where it says free gift. And then all you got to do is just click the button that says subscribe. It costs you absolutely nothing to subscribe to my Substack. I know other Substacks are paid Substacks, not mine. Mine's 100% free. All the articles on there are 100% free for everybody to read. And you get a free gift when you do. If you want to become a paid member, though, you'll also get another book. You get 2 books on top of it. This one's called Bitcoin Begins, and it is exactly what it sounds like. It is Bitcoin explained using Batman. A good way to make your kids crypto literate. And then if you want to become an idealist, that's like the most top tier membership, you get this book here as well. All 3 books you would get. That's what we have as a free gift to all of you. Let's see, we're going to look at this here today. That's the Fed balance sheet. I already showed you guys this last week. Well, look at a couple of other things here. Like, now it's possible that the recession everybody had been worrying about for a long time is coming into play. And what everybody just remembered now is what's called the Psalms rule. And that's what this chart shows. We'll talk about it later here. But this could be a big deal if there is a recession coming around. Let's see the debt and everything. We'll go through that. Oh, yeah, I got something to say about this one here. And then definitely got something to say about this here, where it says the 2-year Treasury and where its direction has been lately has kind of been given a prediction here for us. But what is this chart is telling us here is that the Federal Reserve is already behind. So even if they did a cut that was 75 basis points, they're still far behind that 2-year Treasury. It's really like where the federal funds rate should be in the view of this chart. It should be right in line with the 2-year Treasury. 2-year Treasury is already lower than the federal funds rate. So I was saying, yeah, they're already behind here. They would need to cut by like a full percentage point, a full 1%, to actually get to where we think they need to be in order to have everything right with the world. That's what that chart was showing us there. All right, so we got a lot to cover here today. I've got some things I'm working on for the opening statement for the debate tomorrow. Got a lot of things to say about the Treasury, since the Treasury has gone down as low as we've seen it for a long time. It was a little bit lower back during the tariff chaos going on. It actually fell below 4% once. But I think what I want to start today with here is we want to go over to Max's channel and take a look here at how the debate, how my opponent debated last time. So let me go do that. We're going to go over here. And let's see, hit play. Let me make it really big and then hit play.
They're shiny objects.
You're putting it on the same
Now you guys let me know if you can hear this or if you can't hear this, all right?
plate, on the same standard as other meme coins. I'm telling you, these are richer meme coins. This is the difference. One of the difference.
One. Okay.
But
There's
very
more-
like a big one, right? Like that's like a pretty huge one, I would say. Like being
Big
made
league.
by the guy who made X. I don't know. Seems like
Yeah,
a big difference.
And a few things here, what I want to say is like, he wasn't as bearish as originally thought he would be. So if you guys are like thinking that it's going to be that debate, I mean, I wish it was. I wish I did have a bear out there, but I can't find any bear that is brave enough to get on a stream with me. They're all just complete cowards. But here's another thing I want to do. If you're expecting me to like wipe the floor with him and insult and embarrass him and everything, you're going to be very disappointed because I'm not going to do that. This ain't going to be a bloodbath because, yeah, he's been a nice guy to me. He's been nice to me so far. And the thing about this that I'm trying to do is I want to have more people that I disagree with stream with me. T-Bird is going to stream with me. It was supposed to be this week. It's not going to be this week. Probably be next week or so. But T-Bird and I really disagree on how much time is left in this bull market. I don't think it's even started. He thinks it's going to be over before the end of the year. So we don't want to just completely slit the throat of a first person willing to get on a stream that disagrees with me here and make it look like this horrific bloodbath where it's just like, it's not going to be that. It's not going to be a cage fight or a shouting match. So what are we going to do? No, we want to set a standard here for like even though we have very strong opinions here in the pulse chain community, I think that it's time for us to start being respectful to each other and have respectful debates and disagreements. Because I tell you, like, there was a spaces that I was on. There's one guy was really passionate about one of his opinions, and he didn't like my opinion, and he was kind of nasty about it here, and I didn't like that. Now I figured, the best thing to do here is don't jump back. Like, don't if he throws a bomb at you, don't throw one back. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have a very civilized, respectful debate where you, the viewer, will actually learn something. We want you to learn stuff so that when you tune in to two hexagons talking or two pulse chain people talking, you actually learn something because it's a nice intellectual discussion. It's not Max Kaiser versus some, I don't know, Ethereum Maxi or whatever, because, man, that would not go over well. That would not go over well. All right. So let's see. Let's listen to my opponent here, Pedro.
Prince.
Yeah, I'm still
You
not
can
certain
argue.
he
No,
made
no,
it,
yeah, you can argue that. Like, but I'm not certain it was Richard who made it. Sure, like we can argue
Okay.
that, and I accept that. I accept that we have no clear proof that it was made by him. I 100% accept that. I accept that you gotta believe a little bit. Sure, I accept that.
We know Hex was made for him. We know he's not going to
Yeah,
stop.
100%. 100%. Definitely.
And a little context here on this debate. This debate that he had with Max was a meme coin debate because Pedro is a meme coin guy. He's a meme coin guy, which, that's fine. I'm not a big fan of meme coins or anything. Now, what I will say is, like, once that money printer gets turned on, it doesn't matter at all what you're investing in. Like, if you're a core coins guy, if you're a utility token type of guy, or if you're a meme coin guy, every single one of those guys is going to make money when the money printer gets turned back on. I'm going to show you a little bit about like how powerful of a force that money printer is, that it really is the rising tide that lifts all boats, or it's the tidal wave that, floods everything and pushes everything up. But in this debate here, Pedro was arguing for meme coins. There was like one clip. There's one thing he said right around here that I'm trying to find, listening for.
There's going to be like a most. How do you see most growth? We're going to move on from most in a second.
Here.
But like,
they talk about
how
most.
do you see most getting onboarding people? Like, how does it give people attention? Like a Hex has a clear elevator pitch, trustless yield, access to it's the premier asset on Pulse Chain, huge community, founder, all this stuff. With most, it's like, hey, we think Richard Hart might have launched it, and it's a meme coin, and it might go up. Like the pitches are way different, right?
Yeah, because you see it that way. For me, it's exactly the opposite. It's, look, there's no bag holders, there's no big payday guys. There's literally the coin that was launched, the people bought and sold, and that's it. There's no inflation. It's a true meme coin, limited supply. Go mental. Go.
If you guys can't understand him, I know he's got an accent and everything. I can understand it because I was in a house of Spanish-speaking people. That was what my family was with my grandparents. What he's saying is like he is in favor of the token most, thinking that it's going to outperform the core coins because it's a new token, so it's got a nice new clean chart. It doesn't have inflation like Hex does. So it has that going for it. And because it's like the new exciting thing, it doesn't have a history that causes people to get jaded with it. And because it doesn't inflate, he thinks, well, that's what would make it a stronger asset in the bull run. That's what he's arguing here. If you can't understand his speaking and everything, so I'll try to I'll try to add clarity there when I can.
Go crazy on it because it was made by Richard Hart. That's my elevator pitch, right? And
I guess it does go back to the meme coin thing of like it could pump a lot and then it could dump a lot and then we don't know if it's going to be around, but it may. I don't know. Like it turned into a meme coin pitch.
If you ask me which one has the highest likelihood of existing in 10 years, I will say Hex because Hex exists for 5 years. But if you ask me which compared, for example, Hex to Bitcoin, I would say Bitcoin because Bitcoin exists for longer. Right? So this applies to any coin, right? This applies to any coin, right? It's not really that special. The discussion is not which one is going to exist in 10 years. The discussion is which one will do more access this cycle, right? Don't forget that.
We didn't find this.
I think it's very. Yeah,
I guess we
like when we
the
need
more
a time
X's,
frame,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I guess
Like
this,
within the
okay.
time frame, otherwise, yeah.
I hear you. I hear you.
I assume it's this cycle. If you say it's 10 years, then I don't know. We'll have to think
Yeah.
about that a little
We'll
bit.
go with this
right?
cycle.
Now, what else I want to say here about this, just like noticing my opponent's mannerisms here and everything. This is a guy that does have a lot to say. And when you are debating somebody that does have a lot to say, and like they can't wait to say it, the best thing for you to do in that case is do let him talk. Let him talk. Let him go. Let him go on and on. And then what you want to do is you want to listen carefully and write down everything that he says that's like a bullet point. Try to make a bullet point of his argument and everything. Because one, what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to steel man his argument. You always want to be able to steel man your opponent's argument. Because if you know like the best way to make their case, that's good. That means you'll also be able to dissect and find like the best way to dismantle their case or to present yours in contrast to it. But also, you got to let your opponent talk as much as they can and write down as much as you can, because you might find contradictions. It's a tactic, like I don't know if this is the official word for it or the official phrase. I like to call it just let them dig their own graves. You let people dig their own graves, they will do it. I'm not saying that he's doing that here, but what I can see here from his mannerisms, he's got a lot to say. So we're going to definitely let him do a lot of talking in our debate. I'll ask a lot of questions here to kind of like help me navigate the way he thinks about something, because I want to be able to steel man his position. I want to steel man his position before I try going after it. That way, it's like the most honest and most intellectually honest debate that we can have.
So
But I believe
which
that
one has more
most,
games? Okay.
at least, but I believe that all of them will do a lot of X, and all of them will exist and have buyers and have huge communities. Like in 1 year or 6 months, I think they will have crazy huge communities, right? We already see that with RHPP, with Bitcoin hacks, like with a bunch of them, right?
I think
with
you're very
most,
bullish on
obviously-
Ink. I think you're very bullish.
I'm extremely
More
it's newer than the other ones. It had the most sell pressure and hate. So yeah, of course But look, like all those numbers are Fibonacci.
So I do give him this. Like here, he's a very consistent guy, because I think like probably the reason he's very bullish on ink is that the supply of ink is very, very low. It's a very short supply of like what ink is out there, what ink is available. And I mean, there's only 56 million of those coins. And let's see, we've got like a little bit of them already burnt. And the liquidity is just down to like 2.8 million. So he's consistent. We like that. That's why I think this is going to be a very intellectually honest debate.
Retracement. So it's not that I was trying one to go up more than the others. It was literally just fibs. So I mean, it is what it is. I always have been the most bullish on ink from all the cars, right? Because it's the most hated, most
memeish.
Most memeish, yeah. Obviously, the one that people are why do you need this shit? So obviously, it's the one I'm going to buy the hardest. Look, my perspective on this kind of discussion of what should you buy. It's like if people are very logical, they're going to fail in that sense, because the market is not very logical, right? It buys things that are very stupid that nobody understands why it buys them, right? But it just buys them and likes those. And ink is the most meme-like, right? But now we have something that are actually memes, right? Ink kind of loses a little bit versus the RH memes, in my opinion, right? Because there's RH memes, right? So they serve a purpose better, right? And again, they're different because bonded curve, no inflation, etc. And it's like if you compare so far, and correct me if
So he's still a very consistent guy right here. He's also like in favor of ink doing very well, because a lot of the inflation on ink, well, it's gone away since like the yield farms on PulseX have been taken down dramatically. Hello there, checks my pulse. I'll see you there. All right. And Kirill the Thrill is here as well. I was like, we'll get to the part here. It's coming up pretty soon where like I'm going to make my point of attack. And like if someone's probably wondering like, well, why are you live streaming? You're preparing for the debate here, because like what if Pedro is watching? Like I hope he is watching. I do hope he is, because you see, here's the thing is I actually want to be wrong. I want him to win the debate. And what I mean by that is, when you look at what he's arguing versus what I'm arguing, he's arguing that this whole thing will be over pretty soon. I hope that's true. I hope that we get these amazing God candles coming in and these parabolic bull runs like we're used to seeing from bull runs of the past. I hope that that's the case here, but knowing what I know, I want to present to him what I know and say, well, tell me, like, how is that going to happen when you've got all of these negative forces here that is preventing the Federal Reserve from turning on the money printer? So, and my thesis is always going to be like what causes bull runs. And why I say we're not in a bull run yet is because what causes bull runs is the money printer being turned on. If the money printer's not on, we're not having a bull run. Now, that doesn't mean the prices won't go up. I mean, obviously, the prices of many coins have been going up still, even with quantitative tightening, the opposite of money printing going on. That's still a thing, and they still can, but they haven't even done a fraction of what they're capable of. Bitcoin, as impressive of a run as it's had, it has not done a fraction of what it's capable of. And all these other coins that have done very well this cycle, I mean, I don't really think that there's too many of them, because when I look at the first page of Coin Market Cap, I see everything is still down significantly from its all-time high. I mean, the only one that is close to its previous all-time high that I see right here is Binance Smart Chain, which I don't think anybody really likes. Athena, but that's a new cycle coin. Or actually, oh, wait a minute, that's a stable coin. Never mind. Look at that. Unis Leo is just 5% away from its all-time high. Everything else out there, everything else I'm looking at, and most of them are down about 50% or more from their previous all-time highs. So this ain't a bull run to me when you only have maybe 5 coins in total on the front page that have reached new highs. And when you have all these second cycle coins that still haven't reached their previous highs, to me, that's just not a bull run. And I know what some people are going to argue. They're like, well, other coins are previous second cycle coins are not going to reach their new highs because there's too many other coins out there to buy, and that is saturating the market and sucking away a whole bunch of liquidity, and there's just not enough to go around. I know a lot of people believe that. That's a lie that I've, or not I want to say a lie, but that's a myth that I've debunked a bunch of times before. And to put it like, if I got to do it again here, we'll do it like this. Anybody, throw me in the chat here if you've seen this movie. Everybody see the movie The Substance with Demi Moore? A great movie. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it, but make sure you got a strong stomach. You got to make sure you got a strong stomach if you're going to watch that movie, just because it's so gross, especially at the end when everything goes bad in the end. It's incredibly gross. If you can't handle gore, if you can't handle body horror, if you can't handle gross stuff, don't watch it. But if you're in for like a really good movie, The Substance is definitely worth watching. And like in that movie, like the plot goes like this here, is that Demi Moore plays this aging actress, Elizabeth Sparkle, and she's getting very sad and insecure about her beauty fading away. So she finds like this substance on the black market that allows her to give birth to a younger version of herself. And what they do is every other week, her consciousness leaves her old body and goes into the young one. And then a week later, it goes back into the old one. When she's in the young body, she has to take care of the old body. She has to feed it a particular fluid or something, or she's got to extract a little bit of fluid from her old body and put it into her new one, and then she's got to put some fluid into her old one, kind of like watering a plant. You got to take care of your old self, basically. You got to take care of your old self is like the analogy of the movie. It's rich with analogies. But when she's in the young body, she doesn't take care of the old one. In fact, she extracts a lot from the old one and drains it of all of its sustenance. And so her old version of herself starts aging faster and faster and gets wrinklier, gets a hunchback, gets nastier and everything. The teeth start crumbling, hair goes away. It's frightening, absolutely frightening to see. That's what a lot of people think that, like, the crypto market is doing with all these new coins. That you got a bunch of like new coins taken away from the old ones, but that's not that's not what's happening, guys. Because you got to remember, the crypto market is always super top heavy. Just the first 100 coins on CoinMarketCap on the first page, the first 100 coins represents 98% of the entire market. The money that's in all of these new coins that are supposedly saturating the market is so incredibly small that if they did steal it from the previous existing coins, it wasn't enough to make a difference if they stole it. So anyone that is saying here that, like, hey, it's too saturated and so the old coins are not going to pump, that's just not true. It's just crap. I don't think that Pedro would make that argument. I really don't believe he'd make that argument anyway, though. He's a meme coin guy, and then what he wants probably is he wants to be able to say that these meme coins would stand on their own 2 feet and not need to siphon off value from previous coins. Oh, hey, Tam Tam. There's my number one cheerleader there. Great to have you here. Hey, guys, you know that, like, coming up also tomorrow is our Spaces. We're going to have Spaces on X with Tam Tam and the Captain. So also tune into that tomorrow night at 7 p.m.
If I'm wrong, right? This is more like a question. I think I'm right, but was it not PLSX the coin that so far did the most X's? Or for the 4 coins? Was it?
Did the most X's from the bottom?
Yeah, I think. I'm asking, right? From the bottom, from lunch, from...
That's a good question.
I think it's the bottom. I think it was,
I guess
right?
we can go to pulsing.com and look.
Yeah, just correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was, right?
I don't know.
So which kind of...
All-time low.
Yeah, just show.
Ink.
Was it Ink?
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, it's close,
Okay.
I guess, but...
It's very close.
Relatively speaking.
Yeah, see. So, but anyways, PulseX, it's kind of has similar dynamics in the sense that, it's deflationary, right? It has a limited supply. It's actually gets burned, so it's even better, right? But it's the market kind of likes that, right? And I don't think PLSX is a meme or anything. It's just like a ticker. But I don't know. Do you think PLSX is a meme?
I mean, you got me wavering now. You could make a case. I mean, there's a buy and burn. I don't know. It's
is that
weird,
utility?
Like, I know it's like it does something. It's doing something utility. You could make a case either way, I guess. But Ink is definitely does less than PLSX, but neither one have utility, I would say, as of today. Could change in the future. I'm sure people hope it changes in the future.
Okay.
Hex, you can earn more of it. And it's like, yeah. But so what makes things pump? I want to go at some point. We're going to move on from most because there's other.
No, that's a very good question. That's a very good.
This is what I wanted to get to right here is how he answers this question. So Max asked him the question, what is it that makes things pump? And here we want to kind of zero in on Pedro's answer because I think this is going to be like my point of attack tomorrow. And Pedro, if you're watching, you definitely want to have a really good answer to this question because I really want to zero in on that aspect of, like, not just what makes things pump, but more so like what causes the market cycle, because that's what we're arguing about is the market cycle in general. So what I want to do is I want to focus on, well, what is it that causes the market cycle to occur? What is it that guides it? What drives it? What is it that pushes it along and governs it? So Pedro, if you're watching, you want to have a good answer to that.
What makes things pump? And like my answer is very practical. It's price going up. That's what makes.
Well, that's a result of pumping.
No, the result
you're
is
saying
also
the marketing from the green candles. Okay.
Yeah, that's what makes people buy.
Okay, so he's got one of those. I mean, it's very commonly repeated in the crypto space that it's a reflexive system. When coins start going up, that encourages more people to come in and buy it as well. It satisfies recency bias. It satisfies confirmation bias. So he's not wrong there. But I think, like, what Max was probably trying to get at is what's the first cause? What is it that makes it happen at first here? And that's where we'll try to focus, like, our debate is, like, what are the first dominoes that fall and knock the rest of them in line? Because if he can map out, what it is that drives the cycle and causes it to happen and pushes it along. If he can map that out and say, well, here's all the dominoes, then he can be able to draw his conclusion on why he believes it's all going to end soon, that the last domino is going to fall in the next few months. But if he can't do that, then that's where I'm going to zero in on attack. Be like, well, you're going to tell me that the dominoes are going to end soon, but can you show me where the first domino fell, where this line of them started?
Like the coins, it's
Okay.
number one.
Don't you think that the coins, for example, I'll just go with Hex, has the most websites, has the most interfaces, has the most stuff built on top of it, longest lasting, has the most marketing, has the most biggest community. Don't you think those megaphones, all that marketing, when those green candles come?
All right, so I think that's like kind of where it ends there for him, as far as like his explanation for what causes coins to go up. So it's not the same question that we're going to try to answer tomorrow, because the question we're going to answer tomorrow here is what causes the cycle. Part of that is the coins going up, but also the coins going down and then being flat for a whole year or so, the accumulation phase. Some people are going to say, well, it's the halving that causes it. No, I don't think so. I mean, for one, with each halving that we have, it's less impactful just because the block rewards are smaller each time around. I mean, at a certain point here, like a halving is going to be totally irrelevant just because the reduction in block rewards is going to be so small, it'd be like a rounding error. Not the halving. And also, most coins don't even have a halving. There's just two off the top of my head that I can name that have a halving. So it's not that. It's not that. And as far as like the argument that I'm also going to have with T-Bird about this here is, what I'm hearing from like everybody that says the cycle's got to be over real soon or in the next few months or by the end of the year. What I'm hearing from them, and guys, feel free to speak up and correct me if I'm wrong here, if I'm putting words in your mouth, but what I'm hearing is that you say time is telling crypto what to do. Is that the argument that you're making? That time is telling crypto what to do? Because, that's a weak argument. And that's not a dig here at you or anything. But are you going to tell me that crypto decides to stop going up just because it's the end of the fourth year? And I understand 4-year fundamentalism and why you guys are fundamentalists about it, because you've been burned before. You've heard people like Raoul Pal, for instance, talk about extended bull runs, saying that they were going to happen and they never happen. Or they talk about, super cycles, saying that they're going to happen and they're never going to happen. And you look back at time and you say, well, because previous cycles were 4 years, all cycles must be 4 years. I think that's like how they're coming to these conclusions here. Basically saying correlation is causation. But has anyone asked what went on during those 4 years that caused and drove those cycles? You see, I did. And I can tell you with complete precision what caused those cycles, what caused them to be 4 years exactly, what was driving them, what was governing them the whole time. And if you want to say that this cycle will play out in 4 years because it always has, I mean, that's what I had T-Bird tell me. It was like, well, T-Bird, why is it that it's got to end this year? Why does it have to end within 4 years? And what he said was, well, it always has. Okay, that's true. But you see, that's not the only thing that's true. It's not the only thing that's true, because if we were going to say, well, time tells crypto what to do, you know what else we can say then? We can also say that the Benner cycle tells crypto what to do. If you haven't heard of the Benner cycle, I'm sure that you've seen this chart here. Let me pull it up. Have you seen this here before? As we want to say, well, yeah, the 4-year cycle is true because every previous cycle has always lasted 4 years. You know what else crypto has been following with exact precision? This chart. So now we're at a place here where the two things can't be true at the same time. Because this chart here, the Benner cycle, says it's all going to end in 2026. So either the 4-year cycle is right or the Benner cycle is right. And the conclusions that either side would be using is based off of the exact same argument that time tells crypto what to do. And I'll tell you what, the Benner cycle here has a much longer track record than the 4-year cycle. This has been around since, 1926? And it's never been wrong. It's never been wrong. I'm not saying that it's infallible. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm not saying it's perfect. But because this hasn't been wrong here, just as, the 4-year cycle assumption hasn't been wrong, this time around, we're going to find one of these two things is wrong, but what's the underlying support for both of them is what I'm arguing is wrong. And that is that time tells crypto what to do, or it does what it's done before, or it's following some sort of calendar like an almanac. Because that's what this was meant to be here. This was meant to be an almanac. All right. So I say, the calendar doesn't tell crypto what to do. What occurs in the calendar is what tells crypto what to do. I mean, what's greater? The calendar dates or the events that occur on them and give the dates meaning? That's my argument, that it's the events that occur within the calendar years that have governed the cycle, made it last up to 4 years, and then cut it off after 4 years. And it's not confined to continue to keep them at 4 years. It can go on longer if it wants to. It can go on longer if it needs to. Because what I'm going to argue is what I believe really does cause the bull run. And that's what I'm going to share with you guys in a moment right here. Let's see. First, let me do this. All right. Let me do this here. Chex has got a comment here. It says, if Trump gets markets booming, inflation down with lots of rate cuts, money printing could retrace, go sideways for 6 months, go up higher, retrace, go sideways during his term. Okay. I'm going to answer that question. And I'm also going to answer this question here. What is it that legitimately causes the crypto cycle to occur and to take as long as it does? But first, I want to play for you guys a little advertisement of something new and special that I've been working on here that I think you guys would really like.
Why does crypto suddenly explode into unbelievable bull runs, only to crash just as fast? It's not luck. It's not random. It's macroeconomics. In decrypting crypto, you'll uncover the hidden forces driving every major crypto rally, forces tied to the global debt machine, central bank liquidity, and repeating market cycles. This isn't another blockchain basics book. This is the blueprint Wall Street doesn't want you to read. The playbook that shows you why crypto moves when it does, and how to spot the next bull run before it starts. Don't miss the next cycle. Read Decrypting Crypto. Arm yourself with the knowledge to ride the wave before it leaves you behind. Decrypting Crypto by Cairo. Available now on Amazon and Audible.
All right, friends, so that is my book. It's called Decrypting Crypto. It is available to buy on Amazon and on Audible. If you like the sound of my voice, then I recommend you get the Audible audiobook version of it. And that way you can hear more of me whenever I'm not streaming. That book, the purpose of it is exactly what we're going to talk about today here. What causes the bull run? That book explains it inside out thoroughly so that you never get confused about when a bull run is beginning, when it's ending. Are we in a bear market? Are we in a bull market? That book will tell you. That book will tell you. So, I mean, it had been out for a while, but I'd updated a lot more of it, added a lot of additions to it. It's a much longer thing. So if you read that book, or if you get it and you read through it and everything, you're going to understand what causes the bull run so well that you'll be able to explain it to a teenager, and they'll understand it. All right? So let's get into that part right here. First thing that I want to show you, let me go back to sharing let's share just the whole window here. First thing is this here. This just shows you the federal debt and how it really was manageable until right here. So for 220 years of our country's existence, we never hit $1 trillion in the national debt. Now we got a national debt that is so high, we're going to be adding $1 trillion a year in interest. They call that a debt death spiral. It's called a debt death spiral because it's getting to be so unbelievably large at this point where it's really going to destroy the nation. And it's not so much in the sense that if we fail to pay our debt obligations or that it's too much for us to pay, that is not really the thing to be afraid of. Because the idea here is, well, the nation is going to live on in perpetuity. There's going to be new people being born, new taxpayers being born that will pay this back eventually. The real thing to be afraid of is not whether the Treasury can pay back its debt. The thing to be afraid of right here is, what if the Treasury can't sell its debt? What if it can't get people to buy it? Because how they're handling it now and how they've been handling it for a long time is they don't really pay down the debt. They just issue new bonds to pay back the old ones. They just take on more debt to pay off old debt. It's like getting a new credit card to pay off an old one, and you just got like more. You just got like more debt here. You got more credit card debt, more interest accumulating on it, and everything. More interest accruing. That's how the government had been operating for a long time. Can they keep operating like that? How long can they keep operating like that? It's very questionable if they're going to be able to keep this up. Thankfully, though, they have a tool that prevents them from going under when this is the case. And let's see, did I have that here? Well, actually, it's this over here. If you haven't seen this before, this is the Federal Reserve's balance sheet. Been watching my streams, then you have seen this before. And there's a reason why the chart here starts at 2008. I set it to all time. Really, it starts in 2007. There's a good reason why. It's 2007, really. They started doing something that they had never done before over at the Fed, or never done in a meaningful way before. So the asset sheet, or the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve, the assets on the books there, that is money printing. When it goes up, it means they printed money. When it goes down, well, it means they did the opposite of printing money. All right. Look at this. Very first instance, October 2008, really September 2008. What was going on in September 2008? Anybody know? Anybody want to talk about it here? I think I got to switch the screen here. Anybody remember what was going on back then, man? Yeah, anybody know? I think we all know. Yeah, I think we all know here. There was the great financial crisis. And that was why they had to print money in order to save the country, so to speak, save the world. Because they had a crisis back then of they couldn't get people to buy treasuries. They couldn't get them to buy it. And the yields were going way too high. So the Federal Reserve had to step in and start buying them. They printed money to do it. What else was created at that time? Anybody want to take a guess? Something very significant, and it's the reason why we're all here. Something was created at that time. The Bitcoin white paper. It was written and released right around then. And when we take a look here at what happened with the balance sheet next year, I mean, crypto was going up, or Bitcoin was only crypto back then. Bitcoin was going up after its release because they kept buying. Throughout the whole next 8 years, all they did was buy. Look at this. I remember hearing about Bitcoin in 2011. Had no clue how to buy it or anything, so I didn't buy it. But I remember hearing about it, having an amazing run back in 2011. Well, look what preceded it. All of this money printing. The very first Bitcoin bull run that we acknowledge on the charts is 2013. Look what happened in 2013. This is money printing. Now, some people will say, well, what about the 2017 market? Because This doesn't look like they're adding to it here. It's just staying flat. I mean, did they stop printing money? Very good question. But no. It looks like they stopped. But they didn't stop throughout 2017. They stopped buying more to like expand the balance sheet, but they were still buying because you got to remember what assets are on the balance sheet. Specifically, the assets that are on the balance sheet at the Fed are bonds. Are bonds perpetual investments? Are they permanent? No. Bonds have a set maturity. At a certain point, they end. They cease to exist. The 10-year Treasury, why it's called the 10-year, is because it only exists for 10 years. After the 10 years is up, it matures and goes away. What you saw going on here at the Fed's balance sheet is that many bonds were maturing off of the balance sheet and disappearing, but it stayed flat because they bought new ones to replace them. So there was still quantitative easing. There was a maintenance of the policy, of the QE policy. They kept doing it this whole time. And we remember 2017. Was Bitcoin going up or was it going down? It was going up. Probably the first time that a lot of people ever heard of it, because that was like the first bull run as we understand it. It was going up. And then look over here. It starts. They start letting the balance sheet run off. They call that tapering. You ever see that term, tapering? That's what they mean, is they let the bonds mature and they don't replace them. That started happening March 19th, 2018. What was 2018? Was that a good year for crypto or was that a bad year for crypto? Anybody remember? Yeah, that wasn't a good year for crypto. It was like the first brutal bear market that a lot of people ever experienced. And a lot of people thought it was going to be the end of crypto back then. They thought, yeah, it was never going to come back. That's how bad it was, man. It was also like, the first one that many people ever experienced before. But this here that was going on, it was like, first, you had quantitative easing all throughout the entire Obama presidency. Because that was their solution, was to print money to all the economic problems. And when Trump stepped in, nobody knew what he was going to do. So the Fed just kind of like froze and was saying, well, we don't want to do anything different, really. We don't want to expand the balance sheet. We don't want to reduce it. So we'll just kind of keep things going as they are. Now, also, like coming to December of 2017, they raised interest rates significantly that year. So there was some tightening, and that was probably like the first spark that began the bear market. It was like the first snowflake in an avalanche. But really, once they started tapering the balance sheet, that was when crypto went down. Now, it did start going up a little bit here in 2019 because the balance sheet started going up. But if you remember the 2020 to 21 cycle and how incredible that was, it's because of this thing right here. Look at this. Fed's balance sheet goes from 4 trillion to 7 trillion in just 2 months. Or 3 months, right? Yeah, about 3 months. It goes from 2 trillion to 7 trillion. And it wasn't done there, but that was the first big pop. Bitcoin had a really big pop. It had a really good year for 2020. And not just Bitcoin, but like stocks and everything as well. They did very, very well. Very well at that time. Tob Barus asks, do they ladder out the 10-year Treasury holdings, making them have expiring bonds every year? Yeah, that's right. It's also like the treasuries that they buy, they don't just buy all 10-year. They're going to buy like some other maturities as well. They'll buy some 5 years, they'll buy some 10s, some 15s, some 20s, 30s. So they're all going to mature at different times. They're all going to buy them mature. They're going to have them mature at different times. No, like even when you buy a 10-year, there's going to be like a 10-year that matures on this one day, a 10-year that matures on the next day, one that matures the next week, one that matures the next month. So it's going to be a staggered and staged out maturity. When you look at this tapering, like even up here where it started occurring in 2022, 2023, it looks more like steps. Let me see if I can zoom in on that. Yeah, because notice how like it's kind of rough and jagged. It's because it's a little bit of the time that matures there. Yeah. Back to 2021, you had the balance sheet expanding all the way up until March 2022. That was when it really topped out. And I remember in 2022, even though we already had the Bitcoin top, I was still making money in altcoins. I was playing a lot in Phantom, in the Phantom ecosystem back then. And I was making money I couldn't even believe all the way up until March. March, I remember that month very well because I started saying, well, wait a minute, I'm losing money now. This shouldn't be happening. What's going on? And that's because they let the balance sheet run off. That's all it was. So this is what causes bull runs, bull markets, and bull moves. I mean, I think that even if we really investigated this peak, this thing right here, this was March 2023. I think if we looked closer at that, we'd see that that was actually a pretty good month, or maybe the month after it was really good, just because of this big uptick in this very big uptick in the Fed's balance sheet. Matter of fact, yeah, it was, particularly for Hex. I do remember Hex had a very good March that year because that was when Silicon Valley Bank failed, and for some reason everybody wanted Hex back then, eHex. And I think that it had to do with the bankless narrative behind Hex. We had a great March because of this one little spike here. All right, so this is money printing. Right now, they are doing the opposite of it. And because they're doing the opposite of it, we've had a tough market. That's why the year 2025 has really sucked compared to other fourth years in the previous cycles. Typically, it'd been a good year. So it's not time telling crypto what to do. It's what's occurring in that time. It's not the year that tells crypto what to do. It's what occurs in the year. This is what occurs in it that tells crypto what to do. That's the argument that I'm going to make. That's what my book argues. Because of that, we need this to get reversed to have a real bull run like we understand them. Now, let's suppose they don't turn the money printer back on for a long time. I'm talking years and years and years. Does that mean we're not going to have any further upside action? No, we're still going to have some upside action because they're talking about reducing rates. Reducing rates is really good for risk-on assets. When they cut the federal funds rate, that's great for us risk-on assets. So we will get some price increases probably in the next couple of months. I think we could still have a pretty tough couple of months, though, if they keep this tapering going on, the balance sheet going down. But it's whatever run we do have is not going to be as good as it could be until that money printer gets turned back on. All right? So I do believe the money printer will get turned back on in the future. I want to say near future. I don't want to make a prediction of when. I think that it can happen probably a year from now. I do believe a year from now we'll have that money printer turned on. But if I'm saying in the next 12 months, and you want me to be as honest with you as I can be, I think the chances of the money printer being turned on in the next 12 months are very low, like 20%. And that's what I'm going to argue tomorrow here with Pedro. As he says, it's got to end in the next 12 months. And I say, well, it might not even start for the next 12 months because the chances of the money printer getting turned on are very low because there's still a lot of other levers that they can pull, like interest rate reductions, as they're doing now. Here's the big thing I want to say about the money printer. That is the last lever they want to pull. They are going to delay that as long as they can. In my old business, when I was coaching men, a lot of men were always asking me about testosterone replacement therapy. Like, should I do it? Should I do it? And when I told every single one of them, there's no. If you're not doing it yet, don't start. Because here's the deal. Once you start doing that, you're going to have to stay on it. It's not cheap. It's not cheap to do. This is something you want to push out as far as you can. You can push it out into your 50s, into your 60s, maybe even into your 70s. You can push the need for doing that out as far as you can. At some point, you're going to need to do it. But don't do it until you absolutely have to. Because when you start doing the replacement therapy, your body's not going to naturally generate testosterone the way it did before. And so now you're stuck on it. So don't do it until you absolutely have to. That is how the Fed looks at quantitative easing. They really don't want to do it because we still haven't gotten right from the last time they did it. If you haven't seen the movie Oppenheimer, I highly recommend that movie too. Great movie to watch, Oppenheimer. But there's a part towards the end, after like they've built the bomb, they've dropped the bomb, where Robert is feeling a lot of guilt and emotional distress about his creation. Because he created something that won the war and it defeated fascism, yes, but it also killed a lot of people and has created so much fear all throughout the world that so many people, so many lives can be lost in an instant, in the blink of an eye. I mean, never did we have that kind of destructive power to kill that many people all at once. So, I think Jay Powell is feeling the same thing because America still hasn't recovered from the last time they did QE. I mean, you saw this big run up here in 2020. This was a nuclear bomb, or an economic equivalent of a nuclear bomb. And America still hasn't recovered. I mean, have prices gone down? No. See, price increases are practically permanent. This is why it's taken such a long time for the housing market to come down. Because those price increases, I mean, when you have that much money out there, when you have more money than you had before, circulating all throughout the economy, that money needs to have a place to go. If it doesn't have a place to go, it's going to just be spread across everything that exists in the economy, pushing its prices up. All right? So I don't think that they want to do QE anytime soon, just because last time they did it, it really devastated the whole world with inflation. Like, as bad as inflation got here in the United States, it was much worse everywhere else in the world. Now, when they do it, here's another thing. I've been talking about this a lot lately. I've been hearing about it a lot lately on like those TradFi live streams. And there's a good reason why everybody's talking about the I-shaped economy. Because here's the deal. It's like when they turn that money printer on, it will change a lot of people's lives for the better. Or, I don't want to say a lot. It'll change some people's lives for the better is what I should say. Because a lot of us are going to get really, really rich. All right? You guys that are Richard Hart maximalists, you're going to get very rich. If you're a Bitcoin maxi, you're going to get rich too. If you're an Ethereum maxi, you're going to get really rich too. Pedro is a meme coin guy. He's going to get very rich. Me, I'm one of these guys that buys a little bit of everything. So I'm going to do pretty well too. I mean, heck, I don't like these people, but even the PDI people are going to make money. They're going to make a nice chunk of change. Just that's how powerful the money printer is. All right. That's how powerful it is that like everything is going to go up. Everything is going to get a pop. It's going to change a lot of lives for the better, but it's also going to ruin a lot of people's lives. A lot of people are going to be indentured slaves forever and have no hope of coming out of that. No hope of coming out of squalor. And I'm going to show you kind of like what I mean here by it. I saw something that was really cool, or I don't want to say cool, but like something that really articulated it the best it possibly could on Twitter. That's this here. You ever played Monopoly? Well, take a look at this here. It says, imagine playing Monopoly and never buying any investment or any asset that generates income. Imagine you just went around collecting $200, giving your money to the rich, and trying to stay out of jail. Sounds ridiculous? That's how most people live their lives. Most people don't own assets. See, all you guys that are in the chat here, all you guys that are watching, you guys are very lucky to be where you are, to know about crypto right now, because it's the biggest opportunity that our generation's ever going to see. Understand it enough to know what a good investment it is, understand it enough to know how to buy it. And not just how to buy it, like, you buy a few coins off of Coinbase, but you know how to do real DeFi. As us people in the RH ecosystem, we know real DeFi. We are incredibly lucky to know what we know because of how good things are going to turn out when that money printer gets turned back on. Rest of the world, most of the rest of the world does not have that luxury, does not have, I know it doesn't feel like a luxury right now. I know life sucks for a lot of you guys right now. It's going to be amazing, though, when that money printer gets turned back on. It's going to be amazing for you guys. It's going to suck for most of the world. I mean, we're going to be talking about, like, most people are going to be living in such piss poor standards of living. They're going to be spending the rest of their lives living in a ghetto, living in a trailer park, because that's all that they're going to be able to afford. I mean, the inflation that's coming around is going to be so much worse once that money printer goes off. Like, I'm in Florida here. We're used to seeing $3 a gallon gas. But after this money printer, it's going to be $7 a gallon. And that's going to be the new normal. And when we come out of this, the other side, it's not a K-shaped recovery. It's an I-shaped recovery. That's the I-shaped economy, where the dot of the I is where all the rich people are that own all the assets. And then the line of the I is everybody else that lives under them. There's a chasm of separation between the two, and there's no hope in hell of those people getting into the dot. All right? So they really don't want to do QE until they absolutely have to. And I think that they're going to put it off for as long as they possibly can. I mean, why hasn't it been done yet? Why haven't they turned on the money printers? A couple of reasons. Like, the first big reason I can tell you is that I did a presentation on this, I think, at the PulseX conference, where there's a massive maturity wall in treasuries and corporate debt that's still being cycled through. Most of it won't be rolled over until mid-2026. In fact, there was a paper on it I found here. Let's take a look here at that. Where is it? Where is that? There it is. All right, so this paper says, Trump, the Fed, and maturity walls. This is from Double Line. Sometimes conventional wisdom is right. Commentators are virtually unanimous, and correctly so, that President Donald Trump wants the Federal Reserve to lower the federal funds rate in order to reduce the borrowing costs. Blah, 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 blah. We know this. To illustrate, let's pencil back the envelope to estimate on the back of the envelope estimate on the U.S. Treasury's outstanding debt maturing next year, so 2026. So check this out here on this chart. All this yellow, well, those are T-bills, meaning they're short-term treasuries, and they are coming to an end this year. This is a lot. Actually, there's a lot more treasury debt coming to maturity this year than just what they show here. They show about like $6.5 trillion coming to maturity. Well, there's a lot more than that. See, all that they're showing us here is like the T-bills and showing us the low-cost debt. You see the percentages that they're showing here? They're very low percentages of like what is the interest rate on the bonds that are maturing. So just the low-cost debt that has to be refinanced at today's higher, uglier rates is $6.5 trillion. Next year, the next year here, there's about $4.1 trillion. So $10 trillion of low-interest debt is maturing this year and next year combined that is going to have to get refinanced. And right now, the rates are not favorable. Because, they don't pay off this debt. They just roll it over and spit it out for the next term around. And even in 2027, they got a lot. In 2028, they got a lot. Man, it doesn't really start going down until we get to like 2031. There is a lot of debt that they're going to be refunding just in the next 4 years. Now, what to take from that, I don't want to say that means we could have a bull run that lasts for 4 years. I don't think that's a possibility. Happy to be proven wrong on that point, though. But the amount of debt that has to get rolled over is so great. The amount that the Federal Reserve is going to have to buy is so great. They don't want to pull the lever just yet. What they want to do first is reduce the interest rates, cut the federal funds rate, see if that brings the long end of the yield curve down. They want to cut those and see, well, if we bring the interest rates down to like 2%, is that manageable? And if it's not manageable, well, then we'll print money to buy it. Let's see a couple more comments here in the chat. Bright Light says, the right thing to do is to keep rates where they are at, but a lot of pain and breakage comes from that. So to relieve the pain, they print. Next time, the pain will be worse after they print. Absolutely, Bright Light, absolutely. Like, can they keep the interest rates where they're at and keep the country together? I don't think so. I mean, if they do not turn that money printer on, we are going to be looking at apocalyptic times, because you got a federal government that's adding $1 to $2 trillion worth of debt every single year. And have you ever, this is like one of the worst nightmares you can find yourself in, is if you personally had so much credit card debt that all the work you did each year never made a dent in the principal of your credit card debt. It just paid interest. I mean, you'd be demoralized. You'd be contemplating, I don't want to say this, but you'd be contemplating self-deletion, if you know what I mean. Just because, what's the point of living if all you do is work to pay interest on a debt that you'll never be free from? Imagine what it's like if the entire federal government, the sovereign entity of the country, was in that problem, in that predicament as well. That's what the debt-death spiral is. Hub here has got a question that says, is the crypto market front-running the printing? Good question. No, I don't think that it's front-running the printing yet. I think, if anything, what it's front-running right now is interest rate cuts. Because, going back to what I said here, this is what I'm going to argue at the debate tomorrow. If I had to be honest with you guys, and I am going to be honest here with you guys, I don't think that it's a very high likelihood the money printer gets turned on in the next 12 months. I think it's just a 20% probability. There's no certainties. There's only probabilities. I put the probability right now at 20%. If the jobs report that comes out tomorrow, the revision report, is bad, that does raise the probability. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But right now, being as honest with you guys as I could, and I hope you appreciate this here, because if I wanted to just be a scumbag that wanted everybody to watch my streams and tune in and say, hey, you got to watch me here, I would be feeding you all a whole bunch of bull crap saying, oh, yes, the money printer's getting turned on in a month, and we're all just going to pump. But you see, I'm not a scumbag because I'm not on Discover Crypto. I'm not Joshua Fake. I'm not Dick Demondi. I'm not any of those guys. I'm not on Piss Cover Crypto. I'm going to tell you guys the truth as I know it, as I see it. I'll tell you exactly what I see here. There's a lot of treasuries that are going to mature. There's a lot of corporate debt, too, that's going to mature in the next 2 years. It's a massive, what we call a maturity wall. That's what we're looking at with this chart, a massive maturity wall. Right now, the treasury debts are still being bought up, even at the higher rates. The higher rates are being demanded, but still, they don't have a problem getting people to buy the debt just yet. They haven't had a failed auction. In COVID, we had that during the pandemic, or in 2020, really, when it was breaking out. We had a few failed treasury auctions. That was frightening. Absolutely frightening. But I was working in financial services at the time. And we had never seen anything like that. We didn't believe it was a possibility to have a failed treasury auction. We had a few of those. If we have something like that, absolutely going to turn the money printer back on. If they don't have something like that, you just need the rates to go higher, like over 5%. But right now, we just saw the 10-year treasury go down 50 basis points this year. So it's not happening yet. Now, the 10-year treasury going down, that's still good for us. It's not leading to the money printer getting turned on just yet. So it's not that good for us. But it's still good for us. I'll explain that in a little bit. We would need also to have inflation be lower for Jerome Powell to even consider turning on the money printer. And the data that he looks at, I don't know what the data is, because he is saying, oh, yeah, it's 2.7%. The data that he looks at does not show inflation going lower. Rate cuts, when they do them next week, it's going to need to prove that they're insufficient to fixing the problem. And the problem I'm talking about that they need to fix is the long end of the curve, the 10-year treasury. So if they cut the rates next week and the 10-year treasury doesn't go down, or if it even goes up, that's bad. If that's the case, then they're more likely to start thinking about turning the money printer on. Foreign participation in U.S. Treasury debt still needs to go down a lot more than it has. It is going down, but it's got to go down a lot more than it already has. Because right now, foreign investors and foreign governments hold about 1/3 of all U.S. debt. Now, if they were to immediately divest, that would be real bad, because that would trigger a massive panic that the rest of the world doesn't believe America is a safe place to invest anymore. And that would turn the money printer on. But I don't see that happening. I mean, you would see something like that happening if there was a massive world war. That's what you would need. You need a war to take place to do that. I don't see them. But what I do see them doing, though, is I do see them not reinvesting and just letting what they have mature and expire. But that's going to take a long time, at least a whole year, for there to be a meaningful reduction that becomes a problem, and they got to turn the money printer on to fix it. Right now, China is doing quantitative easing, and since China is Trump's favorite punching bag, he's happy to let them devalue their currency against ours. Bright Light's asking, do we know who is buying our T-bills right now besides the Treasury? Yeah, who's buying the T-bills? 1/3 of it is being bought by foreign investors. The other 2/3 being bought domestically here by Americans, mostly institutions, of course. There aren't too many people that go onto treasurydirect.gov and buy these treasuries. Not too many people do that. But 2/3 of it, they don't have a problem selling here in the United States. They don't have a problem yet, though. And when those foreigners stop buying treasuries and they stop replacing them, that's where it's going to become a problem. But that's going to take time. Now, the jobs revision report that comes out tomorrow, I do believe it's going to be a very bad report that says almost 1 million jobs that we reported previously don't exist. I do believe that's going to be the case. That is going to increase the odds of the money printer getting turned on. I think it increases the odds from 20% to 30% that it gets turned back on in the next 12 months. I don't think the increase, though, becomes final until October rolls around, because that's when we get new numbers about GDP by state. I remember that map I keep showing you guys that shows 39 out of 50 states had negative GDP in Q1. Well, come October, we're going to get the Q2 numbers. If it's just as bad, then yeah, they're going to need to, it's going to increase the chances of the money printer getting turned back on. Now, what I think is more likely to happen is they'll stop doing quantitative tightening first. I mean, they have to do that first anyway, which is bullish for the markets. But the real bull run is going to be when quantitative easing begins. They'll probably keep cutting the federal funds rate. Then they'll turn off quantitative tightening. And when all else fails, they'll resume quantitative easing. But this whole process could take a whole year to get done. So these are all going to be some arguments that I'm going to make at the debate tomorrow, why I think it's going to take longer for this bull run to get going. That doesn't mean the price won't go up between now and a year from now. I do believe the prices will go up just as a result of the rate cuts occurring. But I think for that money printer to get turned on, that's the last lever they want to pull. All right. Now, as far as me making the argument that the bull run never started, you've heard me make that argument a bunch of times. I got a thread up on my X profile that spells it out here. I'll go ahead and give you some highlights of that here. Let's see. Let's just check this one out right here. Because I don't really have to make the argument. This one makes it for me. I mean, when we look at CoinMarketCap, Look at this column all the way over here on the right side. Everything is in red, and I'm talking deep in red. Deep, deep, deep in red. Nothing is anywhere close to its all-time high. The only thing that's like, the only ones that you see that with are stable coins, where they're within like 2% of its previous high. But here's the other thing that we want to look at here. For one thing, like when you have a market almost at the end of its cycle, Bitcoin dominance should be much lower than it is now. So right now, there has not been any crossover between Bitcoin dominance and altcoin dominance. And it's all the altcoins X Ethereum without Ethereum. Because take a look at here. Like this was the 2017 market. The altcoins surpassed Bitcoin dominance. Altcoins without Ethereum. And then here in 2021, right? Oh, this was 2022. They had, they did have it right here, actually. Right here in 21. In December 2021, the altcoins surpassed Bitcoin, or like, they kissed. And then they got a little bit higher. It was a little short amount of time here where the altcoins were in better shape in dominance than Bitcoin. Bitcoin hasn't even fallen below 50% in dominance throughout this entire cycle since 2023 when the ETF came in. And I think that even with the ETF, it's supposed to fall down below 57% or below 50%. And that will happen because remember, a lot of altcoins are still going to be getting their ETFs this cycle. Probably they may get a few of them approved this year. There'll be a lot more getting approved next year. That's why I think the cycle goes on. But the other thing here is the market cycle indicators. None of them have been met. There's 30 benchmarks here. Like when we meet these, we can say with certainty, hey, this cycle is coming to an end. The top has been reached. Not a single one of them have been met yet. I mean, if we were even in the bull run, at least 10 of them would have been met. So I don't think we're in the bull run yet because we haven't met any of them. None of them. So that's a case I make here about how we're not in a bull run. That's part of like the case that I'm making. Also, quantitative easing is still in effect. The federal funds rate is still higher than the 10-year treasury. The DXY is too strong. The debt cycle is still in process. All of the participation this cycle is institutional. And I tell you, like if this cycle really is over, or if it's over soon without much price improvement, crypto's dead forever. Crypto is absolutely dead forever if it doesn't go much higher from here. It needs to go a lot higher from here for crypto to remain a viable investment. Because, like, would you invest in this thing ever again if none of these assets even reach their previous all-time highs? No. If it can't even do what it's shown it could do before, like it's not capable of doing what it's done before, why would you invest in it? Nobody would. Because even though that's a disclosure that we make, well, past performance is not an indication of future results. Past performance is the first thing every investor looks at when they're choosing an investment. Now, it's the wrong thing to do, but it's what they do. And if crypto can't be relied on to do what it's done previously, nobody's ever going to invest in it ever again. That's the fact of the matter. There's another thing here that kind of supports my case here about the Treasury maturity wall. So 9 trillion is the maturity wall this year. It's still cycling through, guys. Still cycling through. I'll probably do a stream just on this article right here because I think it's a very interesting one. They still got a long ways to go before all of this is cycled through here. And I can't wait to bring this up here to T-Bird to kind of get his reaction to it. Because he is essentially going to have to argue that this doesn't matter. But no, it does matter. We're going to see. Yeah. Let's go back to treasuries here. Look at our yield curve. So this is really good that we were able to get the 10-year down to 4.03%. It was as high as 4.6 earlier this year. Now, why do I say this is good? Because, like, in order for them to turn the money printer back on, they need that rate to be higher. So why is it going down good? Well, I'll tell you why. Another thing that would get them to turn the money printer back on is if it was absolutely unquestionable that the United States was in a recession. They refuse to say that we're in a recession, even though we had a very bad quarter one. They say that the growth for Q2 was 3.3%. But I think when we get to the whatchamacallit, when the Q2 numbers come out, where it's GDP by state, they do that. That is going to show most states had a very negative quarter two as well. Good times in gold. Yeah, I'll post the article here. There you go. I think it went there. If it doesn't show up, yeah, there it is. Okay, it's in the chat. All right. But the Treasury, the 10-year Treasury going down right now is a good thing for our case here, because here's the deal. What causes the yields to be what they are in the 10-year Treasury is not supply and demand. A lot of people think that it's supply and demand, but no, it's got nothing to do with supply and demand. Now, they could print, or they could issue $100 trillion worth of 10-year Treasury debt, and that's going to have an effect on the yield. But it's not the main thing that has the effects on the yields right now, because the number one thing that determines the yield on the 10-year Treasury is growth and inflation expectations. And I want to kind of explain like why that is here. So when you see like this 10-year Treasury yield is going down, what that means is that the investing public believes there's going to be less growth and inflation in our future, heading into a recession possibly. That's what that signals when that 10-year Treasury goes down. All right? Because it's the flock to safety or the flock to quality. They jump into it because we're like, well, we know that the 10-year Treasury is a guaranteed investment. We can't lose with it. And it looks like everything else out there is something we're going to lose with. We don't want to lose it. Even if they issued $100 trillion worth of 10-year Treasuries, still it's about growth and inflation expectations. Because you have stronger anticipated real GDP growth. That pushes the yield higher because it signals higher future short-term interest rates. Like the Fed may hike to prevent them from overheating, but it represents that there may be better returns on riskier assets like stocks. So they pull their money out of the treasuries, selling them down, pushing the prices down and the yields up to go chase stocks or crypto. But then weak growth lowers the yields because investors are seeking safety, and they're also expecting the Fed to cut rates. When they expect the Fed to cut rates, they're not just going to have a safe investment that they own now by owning a 10-year Treasury. They also have the opportunity to make capital gains. Because here's the thing. There's an inverse relationship between the yield and the price. There's also an inverse relationship between the interest rates that the Fed sets and the prices of everything that has an interest rate. When the Fed cuts, figuratively, that should make the 10-year Treasury price go higher and the yield go down. And the reason why is like when they cut, when the interest rates are reduced, when new bonds coming out are being issued at a lower interest rate, then those 10-year Treasuries that had a higher interest rate become more valuable because you'd rather have a higher interest rate than a lower one. That's why. It also incorporates a premium for expected inflation over the next 10 years or so, because investors are going to demand additional interest to compensate them for the potential of eroding purchasing power. All right. So the 10-year Treasury is not so much about supply and demand. It's really about growth and inflation expectations. And another reason why here is that even if they issue out $100 trillion worth of 10-year treasuries, the supply of that is not going to cause yields to go through the roof, to go up to 7% there, because there is somebody that is going to buy them, and that's banks. Doesn't necessarily have to be the central bank. Doesn't necessarily have to be the Federal Reserve. It could just be a regular bank like Bank of America, because when that's the case, that's free money for them. The banks can buy those treasuries up and get free money. So this 10-year treasury that we're looking at here went to 7%. Bank of America, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, they would all snatch that right up because that gives them, figuratively, what we could call free money. It gives them a carry trade opportunity. You ain't heard of a carry trade. What that just means is you can borrow at a low interest rate to go buy something that pays a high interest rate. And what can these banks borrow at? They can borrow at the federal funds rate. And the federal funds rate, if it's lower than the 10-year treasury, they immediately rush in to correct that problem, to bring those two yields closer together, because that's free, easy money that they can make right there. And they love doing it. And also, there's regulatory and operational incentives, because banks have liquidity requirements. Treasuries are very liquid. And there's balance sheet management that treasuries help with. There's income generation. It's not truly free money, but it is it's very close to free money. It's very favorable for them. Maybe a quick break right here while I get another drink. Got another thing to play here for you guys, just in case you were curious. What is why is the channel called Reinvent Ideal? Where did I get that from? Well, this will tell you why.
You're listening to a Reinvent Ideal live stream. The phrase Reinvent Ideal isn't just clever wordplay. It's a manifesto. For decades, society handed us a dusty old blueprint for life. Work 9 to 5, climb a corporate ladder, buy a house you can't afford, marry young, pump out kids, spend 40 years in a hamster wheel, and if you're lucky, retire at 65 with a gold watch and arthritis. That's the ideal we inherited, but it's a lie. A boomer-delivered illusion that made sense in 1970. But in today's world, it's a recipe for debt, burnout, and disappointment. Reinvent Ideal is the antidote. It's about rejecting the outdated script and designing a new one. A life where freedom, autonomy, and leverage replace status chasing and financial enslavement. Where your ideal isn't dictated by suburbia and social media, but what keeps you sane, sovereign, and alive. Instead of status symbols, we pursue rare and in-demand skills that buy independence. Instead of debt-fueled materialism, we choose minimalism, shedding liabilities and obligations. Instead of working to death, we embrace crypto and investments that multiply freedom instead of shrinking it. The new ideal isn't about fitting into someone else's mold. It's about building a life that maximizes your time, choices, and sovereignty. Reinvent Ideal is about giving yourself permission to redraw the map.
There you go. In case you were curious, like what why the channel is named this right here. Because also what we're trying to do here is we're trying to reach people that are not typically crypto people. Because we can preach to the choir all we want. We can stand in the echo chamber all we want and say, yes, 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 keep holding everything. And then there's value in that to keep the rest of the community holding what they have and valuing what they have. We need that. But we also do got to bring in new people and reach new audiences. Because if we can't get new money in, we're just not going to have a bull run. We're not going to pump because it's all about new money. Yeah. A lot of the new money will come from the Fed printing money and everything when they do turn that money printer back on. But we got to get new people interested in crypto here as well. And how we do that, I don't think it's going to be through sending out postcards. I don't think it's going to be through sending out tablets with no guarantee that the people that receive them have any idea what we're even talking about. I think the best way to do it is build an intimacy with listeners, with viewers, kind of like how I do here, sharing with you as much of my knowledge and wisdom as I can, sharing with you my story, so you guys get to know me and everything. You guys know as much about me as anybody else in my life. When that happens, when you build that kind of intimacy with your viewers and everything, I think that is the best way to build that kind of trust with everyone. And reaching new audiences is really what we should focus on as streamers, because might not be much news happening for a while here to really stream about in all of crypto. I do think that there's value in us having debates and discussions, as long as we're keeping them intellectual. I think there's a lot of value in that. But what we want to do first and foremost is reach new people. So tomorrow, we're going to have our debate. I got the case made right here. I think my opening statement is ready to go. Then also tomorrow, though, at 7 p.m. on X, we got the spaces that Tam hosts, and that is made largely for new people. I don't see any more questions in the chat, so I think that everybody's good here. And with that, then, I will play for you guys our outro now. Because, finally figured out how to do this streaming thing the right way. Finally had to figure out how to be all fancy pants here with it. So here is our outro.
That is it for us today, you glorious degens. Smash that subscribe button to join the rebellion, and follow me on X at ReinventIdeal for more unfiltered truth bombs between live streams. And if this was your first time listening, head over to reinventideal.substack.com, because I have a free gift waiting for you there. If you become a free subscriber, you'll get a free copy of my book, Your Parents Were Wrong, Debunking and Replacing Outdated Advice, packed with the wisdom to outsmart the system. It's absolutely free to join, so no excuses. Grab it before the suits catch on. And remember, the bears get blocked right here and told to shut the FUD up. Until next time, this is Cairo Copeland, your millennial Moses, here to lead the most jaded generation to financial liberation. Here to reinvent the wheel, or reinvent ideal.